Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV, and we're here today with El Dorado County Sheriff John DeAugustini, like we do every month, and we get some information from John about what's going on in the county and how things are going. And I thought, I want to thank you again, of course, as always, coming to see us.
Thank you.
And, I thought maybe a little bit, just to start with, until we get to the serious stuff, is maybe a little bit of get to know John a little bit. What is it that John likes? And people were saying, well, what's John's hobbies and things like, I don't have a clue. So I thought, hey, let's find out a little bit about John as it is. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What hobbies do you have? What's your favorite football team? The fun stuff.
Well, I'm not much of a sportsaholic, I guess. I don't watch much sports on TV.
Yeah.
I do like the Giants, and I like the Niners.
Yep.
But I don't watch them that much.
Right.
When I do have time, which is in short supply now,
Yeah.
but I like to shoot. I like to hunt, mostly upland and waterfowl.
Right.
I used to hunt deer when I was a kid, and for some reason just lost interest in big game. So turkeys, doves, quail, duck, pheasant,
Sure.
chucker.
Sure.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I do for fun.
That's a lot of fun during the season. I like birds uplands myself. It is a lot more fun. I'm kind of on the downside. It seems to me that, I don't know, maybe you experienced it. As you get older, you've hunted a whole lot, and as you get older, for me anyway, the thrill of working, getting your deer, getting your elk, or whatever, I'm in the back of my head always going, I got to drag this thing 2 miles, So I think more about the work,
Yeah.
You always get that kind of thing. So it's kind of funny,
Yes,
but, so the birds are easy,
I love the upland. Matter of fact, I have a 10-year-old lab, chocolate lab named Kona. He's phenomenal. They say every good man gets one good dog in his life, and this was it.
Huh?
It was it. So we just bred him to a little female. Looks exactly like him. He's got the real blocky head.
Yeah.
A little bitty rear end.
Maybe you can get a pup, huh?
I'm hoping to see if we can get one like
Wouldn't
him.
that be neat?
It would be.
Yeah, I finally got the dog I wanted to, and I don't use dogs too much for hunting, but we got a very strange combination. He's half Dalmatian and half Queensland Heeler.
Oh yeah.
But great dog.
We just lost a Queensland. She was the family dog for 19 years.
My God, what a great lifeline.
19 years old. She just passed, and I'll tell you, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. My lab, she raised him, really, if you think about it.
Right, yeah.
We buried her right down in front of the house. By this rock, there's a little flowering bush. I can't remember what it is.
Sure, a little tribute to her.
She, every day, every morning, the dog's routine was they would get up and they'd go down to the lake and they'd take a little swim and mess around there. Then they'd come up and eat.
Right.
And she died. We buried her there, and he would still go down to the lake, and he still does go down to the lake.
Yeah.
And he stops at her grave on the way up and sits there for about 15, 20 minutes.
Is that right?
It's the craziest thing you ever saw.
Aw.
It's neat.
That's really neat. Yeah. I am very attached to my dog, and I just, anything happened to any of them, it's always been sad. I've had a lot of dogs in my life, and I can still think about it. But anyway, that's a different story. So not too much into football. You sound a lot like me. I catch a Niner game every now and then, and I'll watch it, but it isn't the end of I've got to be there.
Right.
On a little NASCAR, I like that. That seems to be my wife's thing more than mine, surprisingly enough.
Baseball's good, though. Baseball's America's sport.
Baseball's America's sport. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, me and my wife, we have try to make date night every Monday night, just her and I, and go do something together.
Yeah.
Get away from the office, get away from business a little bit. And a few weeks ago for date night, the guy got home and said, any ideas what you want to do? And she said, no. I said, I do. Let's go. So we jumped in the car and went down to a River Cats game.
Oh, yeah.
Had a hot dog and a beer. And
sat there and watched them for a while.
Yep. It was awesome.
Yeah. All these years I've never gone to a River Cats game. I'm
It's neat.
sorry to say that, but yeah. I used to, when I lived in Southern California, my father was a big baseball, hockey was his thing because he was from the East Coast, but We used to go and watch the Angels when they were actually playing out at Dodger Stadium back then. So we would go to doubleheaders and things, and he was really into that. And that was fun. But somehow for me, my sports are still the shooting sports. That was the thing that I always got involved with. Trap shooting's still a big one. The handgun competitions, that's still a big one. So that was kind of neat. So but you're a little bit like I am on the same way. We got a very similar.
I like to shoot. Matter of fact, I got to build. I'm going to be building here shortly at 308.
Oh, good.
I'm going to build myself a nice target.
Yeah.
Sniper style, tactical style 308.
Do you know what kind of action you're going to go with?
I haven't settled yet.
Decided yet.
Bang for the buck. I really like Remington.
Yeah. Ruger makes a hell of an action.
Ruger makes a good one. Savage is making a good one.
Yep.
HS Precision's got a really nice.
Oh, there's some
action.
great
some
choices
good ones
out there.
So when I get down and dirty with it, then I'll start picking the parts and putting it together and spend some money on some glass. I like something that when I was a sniper at Amador County, when I was on the sniper team, I had a 700. We just had the PPS 700 PPS and 308.
Right.
And that gun was amazing.
I know they're amazing.
It was amazing. At that 300 yards, I could shoot. What's a skull lid? 2.5 inches.
Yep.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time, cold shot.
It's funny. Some guns are just incredible. I have a 270 that used a custom Ruger action, and we actually did can't remember the name of the muzzle brake company on it, but we put a muzzle brake on it and got it Z-coded and everything. And that gun out to 400 or 500 yards is so accurate, it's almost scary.
The flat.
Oh, incredible. All my hunting buddies have teased me now. They call it death races. If you're bringing death ray, we're not even coming. Because, anything that goes in front of it I've been very fortunate to be able to harvest game with it very easily. And it's never wounded it where we had to hunt it a whole lot. It does its job. Yeah. And I like 270, and it's a great caliber, and it works real well. Yeah. But, of course, something like a 300 Win Mag, or there's so many calibers out there now. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you want a Wildcat and make your, if you want to go that.
I just want to go a standard 308.
Yeah.
You can get the ammo anywhere, kind of like a 30-06. Yep. Everybody, the hot ticket now is the 338 Lapua. Everybody wants to have a tactical 338, and it's nice, but it's expensive to shoot.
It is. I have a 338 Winchester, and I love the gun. It's great for big game, but I wouldn't go Lapua. Right. I wouldn't have a need for that, but it's a lot of fun. There's so many things out there now that you could have a good time with. Yeah. And all our television people are going, what are these guys talking about? You get the non-gun people, they don't get it, but we have a good time about that. I had what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Well, this is going to be funny. Probably one of my favorite movies of all time is Caddyshack.
Yeah, it's a funny movie.
It's just a brainless movie. You can sit down and have a laugh and relax.
That's a good one. Well, we on our Old Guy Tech show, we have a program called Real Flicks, which is movie reviews with Jonathan and a couple of his buddies, and they go around reviewing movies. So there may be a movie for them to look at. Do that.
Have you done Open Range?
Oh boy, now that's a real movie.
That's a good one.
That is a real Open Range.
It's neat with scenery and music.
Yeah. What
you can do with very little dialogue.
Yep. And reality, and real reality.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
It is a good movie. I wouldn't mind seeing that one again myself too. So that's on my favorite list. I have so many favorites. It depends on what genre you want, because I'm a sci-fi fan on one hand, I'm a Western fan on another hand, so so I get these things kind of I don't have any one movie, but
you do sci-fi and Western, and what's that what is it?
It was
Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yes.
Good movie.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great movie. I had a great time with that movie. It was perfect mix for me. I had a wonderful time with that, so there's no doubt about it. That was a great one. So, well, it's this kind of stuff that's fun, that people get to know us a little bit more, and that they're human. But let's talk about some real things that have been going on right now. And I know that I'm going to throw up on the screen right now a website that is called crimereports.com. Mm-hmm. And if you guys look at the website while we're talking here, what's really unique about it, and I know that this site had some problems, but it's up and running really good right now. It gives crime statistics in areas within counties that you live in. Now, I brought up El Dorado County, and you're able to drag your mouse all around and see different crime reports in different crime areas, from sex offenders to simple crime situations, and it really gives you a good idea of where in the county that there's problems. And so I recommend to our viewers that if you take a few minutes, go to well, actually, it goes to a secure site. So it's https://www.crimereports.com, and you can log in and get some information.
And you can still, I believe, you can still get that from our website.
You can, the link
on the left
from the Sheriff's Department. There is a link
Yes.
that you can go to direct. If you can't find it off our website, you can find it off the Sheriff's website. And I find it's a very fascinating tool, and it gives you an idea. And for those of us that I got this icky feelings on these sexual predators, I kind of like to know where they're at, and it gives all that information as well. So overall, Colorado County looks pretty doggone good. We really are.
We are in good shape right now. Crime is still low. We like it that way.
Yeah,
we like it that way. But the website, it's very robust. Take the time. If you pull it up and there's nothing there, don't panic.
Right.
Go up to the little drop-down menus on the top right side of the map, and there'll be a lot of different options that you have that you can click. You can see if you only want to see property crimes in a certain area, click the property crime button. It'll bring those up.
You can break out what it is you want to see, or you can see the whole thing, whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then on the sheriff's website also gives the opportunity to link into the county's press releases. You can, you can decide which ones you want, which ones you don't. If you want from the sheriff's department, DA's office, whatever it may be, and it's linked again. Everybody, it's linked off the sheriff's department website as well, and some credible information. So it's good to know what's going on. We do it, of course, because we're making this a business, and we want to be able to report to you as well of going to the sheriff's department, going to Old Tech's or actually News 44's website for that kind of information. So we're trying to help on that. That's working out really, really well. So I think it's a good tool to use. I know that you like it, and that like some websites, I think they may have had some problems, but they seem to be up and running.
Yeah,
pretty
no,
good.
it's a great resource for the community, for the citizens of El Dorado County. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
It's for them to be able to go on there and see what's going on in their neighborhood and their different areas. Sometimes in the recent past, it's been down a couple times. So if you go on there and the information's not coming up or it's not quite updated, please check back. Keep refreshing it check it for a couple of days. Go back and check on it to see if that information it will eventually come up.
Right.
We feed information to it every 24 hours. It's updated every 24 hours from our office. So it's pretty up to date info.
Yeah. It's good tool. I really like it. So you guys might take a moment to check into it as well, and it's good to see. We've had a couple of instances in our county which have been kind of sad. A sad statement, a little bit of where our youth are going, and a sad statement of sometimes that people are sure willing to play with their lives, shall we say. And I know just recently, press release has to do with the young man from Pollock Pines who unfortunately passed away after using an illicit drug. And apparently this is a new drug. I've never heard of it before. Do you have information on this particular hallucinogen?
We have very, very limited information on it, and we're still speculating that that's what it is because the lab results have not come back yet. But it's new, and this, I say it's new. Having these things come out is not new.
Right.
Different drugs, different stuff.
Yeah.
A while ago, if everybody remembers, down I believe the kind of poster board case for it was the bath salts case with the very hallucinogenic type of drug. That was in Florida, I believe. Now we have these here, 2CI, 2,5 bold or whatever. Different names it comes through.
Yeah.
It's very sophisticated, meaning it's not just something that anybody's making. This is a laboratory-made drug.
Yeah, from what I heard, it came from Germany, and it's an actual scientist who developed it supposedly for a therapy. Now, obviously, it's being used as a recreational drug instead of a therapy, but it doesn't say
the
exactly
diversion of all these legitimate drugs is typically how we end up with these illicit drugs.
Right.
It's a diversion of them. And this is a perfect example of what we see here.
Yeah.
You know, this one, you know, it was a tragedy. We lost a young man. It's always a tragedy. But I will say that this is one of the few times where we were able to actually carry on an investigation into it and do have 2 suspects in custody for involuntary manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen very often. Typically on an overdose, you don't know where they got it, where it came from. This one was unique.
So these
in that
guys
way.
were out there selling this drug.
Yeah, or providing.
Or providing, or whatever
yes.
it was, but they were...
And my guys are still working up the food chain on that, trying to figure out where it's coming from, and on.
Well, how scary is that? You know, you young folks out there, I don't know if you're watching our show or not, but your life isn't worth putting in jeopardy for high for a short period of time.
You know, it's not, and this is one of the things that concerns me, and I don't know if I've ever said it on this show either, but you know, the desensitization of especially our youth, and marijuana and alcohol both. Mm-hmm. You know, they've always said that was bad, but now everybody's doing it. So this must be okay too. You know, I've said it. I believe it that marijuana is a gateway drug. Mm-hmm. I have interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of suspects when I was working narcotics.
Right.
And yeah, I did talk to a few that only smoked marijuana, and that's all they ever did, and that's fine. Yeah. But virtually every opiate addict, heroin addict, LSD, meth addict, what'd you start? Marijuana and alcohol.
Alcohol. Yeah. Alcohol is still a very, very serious drug. People forget that it's a drug.
It is a drug.
And, you know, I hate seeing these young kids getting their hands on this stuff, and it starts from that. And, you know, we've lost so many of our youth, so many of our brilliant, beautiful children in our counties and other counties because of these drugs, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking because, you know, I have 2 children of my own, and yes, they're grown, but if something like that happened, I would be devastated, as would you, with your children.
Well, yeah, even after this one, I told my daughters, you know, I said, hey, there's a new drug out there, kind of like LSD. You don't know if you're going to be giving it, somebody could slip it in with anything.
You don't know what's in it. That's
Be
right.
careful.
Yeah, please don't experiment with it, you know, because... You just don't know where it's coming from, and it's like now I'm assuming ecstasy is still a fairly prevalent drug around, you know.
MDMA.
And from what I've heard on some of the stories that I've read about it, I mean that stuff is cut with rat poison, and I mean they put all kinds of crap in that stuff. And please, kids, I mean really, you know, I sound like an old guy, you know, and what the hell is this old guy know? But you know what? You want to become an old guy too, and to do that. You got to take care of yourself and not get involved with these things. Really, your life is worth a lot, you know.
And there's no such thing as an old fool. You don't get to be old being a fool.
Right. Yep, that's exactly right. You know, when I was flying, there used to be the old line, there's old pilots and bold pilots, but there's no old, bold pilots. And I could probably say the same thing with drugs. If you're willing to experiment with your life, I sure wish you didn't. You know, I really want you to, you know, be healthy. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. Of course, you're talking to a teetotaler here. I don't even drink. But, you know, I'd like to live a little bit. And boy, those drugs are just very, very difficult on your system. So we're sorry about that one. And our condolences to the family of this young boy. And I'm sorry to hear it. But hopefully this doesn't come to a point where it's not a lesson learned. I really hope that all you out there, all you young children out there, learn a lesson that this is a very dangerous drug and that we treat it as such. So that's an important one. And I know I'm on my soapbox a little bit today, but it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. We have and maybe you've got some information on this. There was a dog, biting dog sought, and I guess apparently it was somewhere out of the Rubicon Bay. And I don't know if they found this dog or not, or the individual was bit hasn't gone through the rabies shot or something. But there is apparently a dog on the loose in the Rubicon Bay area that they're looking for, that they're afraid has rabies. So I just wanted to bring that up too, if you know
Yeah,
about
and
that.
I don't know anything more than what you just said, and that I believe it has not been located yet.
Yeah, boy, what a shame. Hopefully that gets taken care of. Now I know that the shots for rabies is a lot simpler than it used to be. It was horrible. It was horrible. You never wanted it, but still, it's very dangerous. If you're in contact with any strange animal whatsoever. I know we all love our dogs and everything, but you need to be very careful because if it's a dog with rabies, you may not survive. So you need to keep that in mind. The other thing I want to talk about, with again just extremely heartbreaking, of course, is the
Linnea Lomax.
Linnea, thank you.
Yeah.
Lomax situation, and it's my understanding now that she hung herself, or at least that's the theory. And more information on that now?
Rob, not much that the media hasn't already put out there. Sac County does have this. The Sac Police actually has this part of the case down there.
Okay.
Finding her, doing the autopsy and the positive identification. From what I understand, positive identification has been made, but is still not positive in that we're still waiting on some, I believe, the dental and the DNA. Now, probably by the time you guys get this edited up today and on,
we'll know more.
Probably be done already.
Yeah.
As far as the cause of death, again, exact cause will be from their investigation. It appears that there is absolutely no foul play suspected whatsoever. So
another tragic loss.
Another tragic loss. Her mother was there and was actually one of the volunteers that found her, which is terrible, but maybe a blessing also, that it's over. It's done. There is some closure now. I was on the media, on the news a month or so ago, or maybe a month now, saying that, no, I believe she's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And if we wouldn't have found her body, I would still say the same thing.
Sure.
Because we put as many resources as we could, following down every lead and every tip that would come in for that one chance that she was out there. So, our prayers and our condolences go out to the family. We feel terrible, but there is closure now. Maybe this can bring some more awareness to some, so maybe this type of incident doesn't happen again to another young adult.
Yes. Well, there's help out there for all of you that watch the show. If you are this despondent and you're at your wit's end, there's a lot of help out there. Take advantage of it if you can. Many of us have family members in similar situations, and having to deal with it is difficult on the family. It's hard on the individual, but do as much as you can to help out on that one. Boy, we're kind of a downer show today, aren't we? But I want to get this information out to everybody, so that they understand that. Is there anything on your list that you might like to talk about today? Is there anything that you have in mind?
Well, hey, I'm in a suit, so I can talk politics.
There you go.
We got a lot of races coming up.
Yeah, we do.
I've said it before. People, you got to vote. You got to get out and vote. They got to get informed. Get informed on the issues. Get informed on the candidates.
Right.
If you don't have the time to do it, then find somebody that you know that does or is involved and ask them.
Right.
But then vote. I'm going this Sunday. I'll be leaving for Las Vegas. I'm going to be speaking at the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association conference. Sheriff Mack, who heads up the organization, I'm on the board of directors, said that this time he'd like every sheriff on the board of directors to get up and talk on something.
Sure.
Talk on something. So, John Lopi will be talking about his issues that he's dealing with in Siskiyou County, dealing with the regulations and the regulators coming in and decimating his economy in his county, trying to remove the dams from the Klamath River.
Yeah.
I believe Sheriff Gil Gilbertson is going to be speaking on the issues he has with the Forest Service, which shutting down timber harvest and cutting off access to the forest, which has decimated his economy.
Right.
He's pretty much closed his doors on his sheriff's office. There's very, very little services that they can provide other than just responding to major incidents.
Yeah.
There'll be other sheriffs talking on the other issues, and we have our issues here in El Dorado County. I talked about dealing with our road closures and dealing with those, and had meetings with Forest Service, but I'm just so pushing so hard on this. Get out the vote.
Right.
Right. So I'm going to be speaking on the history of the office of sheriff, where we came from, what it morphed into over the years in medieval England, where it started.
Right.
It started off where sheriffs were selected, they didn't say elected or chosen, selected by the people of the shire, of the early version of modern-day county.
Right.
And that's where it became the shire reeve, or turned into sheriff.
Sheriff, right.
Well, King William the Conqueror, after the Normandy invasion, William I, he didn't like the idea of these guys being out there with this much juice selected by the people. So he said, no, they're going to be appointed. And that's where you ended up with the infamous Sheriff of Nottingham in the Robin Hood tale.
Right.
Right. And that was true. That's what happened. They were so corrupt. Because they were run by the king.
Right.
And the king pretty much let them get away with anything as long as he got his tax revenue and they carried out what he did want when he wanted it.
Didn't care what he wanted. Yeah, well, how they got it.
So then we came over, then the Magna Carta, 1215, the Magna Carta was written, and basically the barons and the people stood up and told the king at the time, hey, we've had enough of this, King John. And these are rights. These are our rights. And it was the predecessor of our Bill of Rights. It had a lot of influence in this country when we wrote our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And they chastised them pretty heavily. And the word sheriff was used 9 times in the Magna Carta.
Wow.
Basically said, no, the sheriffs aren't going to be doing this, and they aren't going to be doing that, and they aren't going to be doing this. Well, when we came to the United States and the colonies were building, and they started the sheriff. They needed some way to keep their peace in their in the colonies, in the counties, in their shires. So they also brought in the sheriff. But as when it was originally brought forth, it was selected by the people. And then as the United States grew and each state was formed and they started their state constitutions, they included sheriffs in those state constitutions as constitutionally elected people.
Right.
Keepers of the peace. Now, we're 200 some years later. And we are seeing now the authority of the sheriff is being trying to be stripped across this nation. In 2000, Connecticut, their sheriffs lost their authority. Now we have Geoff Christopher in Delaware, who is fighting for his authority. His state legislature is trying to take away his ability, arrest powers, and things like that.
I hadn't heard any of this.
Oh yes, this is happening because we don't get along to go along. We work for the people. We don't work for the president. We don't work for the state legislature. We don't work for them. We work for you.
So the political entities are trying to get rid of the sheriffs?
Sure.
Is that what it?
Absolutely.
Because they want to be able to control.
They can't control us.
Right.
And they know that. With the movement and the momentum that we have now, we're saying, no, you're not going to do this in my county. Sheriffs are starting to do that. Down in, I guess it was New Mexico with the forest issue, that sheriff had a big part in that. We have the sheriffs in North State California. We have sheriffs in Oregon. Wyoming Sheriff Mack, way back when, Mack and Prince versus Mack, whatever lawsuit case it was, where we took on the Brady bill and won. And they don't like that. They don't like that because we're not doing exactly what they want, exactly when they want it, all the time, like the kings did in medieval England. So, but the bottom line, it all boils down to voting. It's not a privilege. It's not even a right. It's a duty. Get out and vote. Our legislatures, they appoint our judges. Who we have making those laws underneath those domes, whether it's in your local board of supervisors, it's your state dome of legislature, your state capitol, or the federal capitol, the federal seats. That's where we fix it. Trust me, I talk to a lot of people say, well, nothing's going to fix this unless we have a civil war. No, we don't need that. You can fix this at the ballot box.
Right.
You can fix this with your vote. If people wake up, get involved, and vote.
I can't tell you how often, we hear the statement, oh, my vote doesn't count, so why should I bother?
Vote does count.
Every vote counts.
Yeah,
yes, I know.
Count.
Sometimes it's discouraging. And those of us in the rural areas that we're at, when you look at California, and I think we talked about this before, and California really needs to be split east and west, if you really look at it. Because, you look at the line, the rural areas on the east side of California are all fairly conservative, big supporters of sheriffs and all that. And then the west side, though, is the more liberal, big city, chiefs of police type of situation over there. And that's where the problem comes.
Yeah. There's a recent article just came out in American Cop magazine written by retired police chief Jerry Boyd, I believe is his name. And it's a really good article. I can't remember the name of it, but it talks about the authority and the power of the sheriff and how the feds don't like it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's very eye-opening. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I know
it's available online.
It's like guys like Joe Arpaio. Is that right? Is that
how you
pronounce it?
Joe Arpaio.
Yeah, you get guys like that, and is willing to stand up and do what's right. And they tried every which way they could to prosecute him, and he stood up to every one of them and beat them all.
And they still are.
Yeah.
And they still are. He has this whole birther issue that he's brought to the forefront, and he has what seems like a very convincing investigation.
Yep.
Nobody will listen to him, unfortunately, but they're fighting him tooth and nail on everything else. But then when you have, and if a lot of it, you can follow the money. You look who gets awarded grants, federal grants, and who gets awarded different monies, and you look at those counties that are more liberal counties, that have more of what's the new term for the illegal aliens, where they can sanctuary cities and those kind of things. Sure. And you look at the federal money, look at the federal funding streams that goes to some of those more liberal counties compared to more rural or more conservative counties that don't really go along with that type of way of thinking.
Right.
Look where the funding goes.
And I've been scolded numerous times about this, but one of the things I still can't understand, and I've never had anybody really explain it in such a position that I can agree with it, is how is it in our voter registration situation, how is it to register to vote, you can't show ID to prove that you're a citizen? Am I dumb somehow? I mean, I don't understand. Why is this okay? I mean, I don't remember, we're close in age. We're not too far apart. I remember when I was a child and I would go with my father and he would go register to vote. You had to, and I remember this distinctly, he had to sit down there, he had to show ID. They had a paragraph that was written on the table. He said they had to ask him, read the paragraph, because they had to know if they were literate enough to understand what they were voting on. And that's the way it was done in the late 50s. Now we're at a point where you don't even have to show anything. What's wrong with me? What am I seeing wrong here?
No, you're preaching to the choir. I understand. I mean, when this country was founded, you had to be a stakeholder. You had to have skin in the game.
Right.
You had to be a landowner to vote.
Right.
And then I understand that, but to the point, and I can't remember which founding father it was that said, as soon as something to the effect of, as soon as the people can, once they learn they can vote their own socialism into their pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
In other words, anybody can vote for a welfare type program or whatever.
They'll vote themselves.
Then they'll vote. We'll always have that.
Sure.
It'll always go that way, and that's what we have.
Yeah.
We have that. It was like somebody was telling me the last election when we had what was it, 29, Prop 29, the cigarette tax, or which one of those it was? Was it 29?
I think you're right.
Somebody said, now listen, they said, now here's just one way to look at this. Think about this. Who is the only people that tax is going to affect? Smokers.
Smokers.
Right?
Right.
Then, according to our Constitution, they should be the only ones that are going to vote on that.
Okay. Because they're the stakeholders in it.
They're the stakeholder.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can look at it that way as well.
Yeah. Well, when we get, I have some real issues with how we use our, let me backtrack, how the legislators use their powers to impose fees. Fees, which you and I both know are taxes. And they don't want to use the tax word. They want to use fees. Now, we just, as property owners, we just received a fee statement from the fire districts ordering us that we have to pay this fee.
And you can pay those under protest.
Yep.
And I encourage everybody to go online and print out the documents and pay those under protest. There's a reason why they said, you can pay it under protest, but you got to have these 3 letters and these forms and these certain things.
Yep.
Because then they know nobody would do it.
Right. They made it difficult. But if you can, do it.
Not that difficult.
Yeah. It just fries me.
Well, let's talk about taxation. Okay. How many? Double taxation is unlawful, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's unlawful. All right. You go. Okay, you drive. We'll start off simple. You make money. I have a job. I get fairly well salary.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taxed on that, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm taxed on it. Then when I go and spend it,
yep,
I'm taxed on it again.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Right.
Let's use a commodity. Let's say you buy a car. Okay? When that manufacturer buys their parts, are they taxed? In the long run, they're taxed on their income, right? The company has their corporate tax and everything else.
Right.
Okay. And then you go buy that car.
Right.
You pay tax on that car?
Right.
Again. You pay tax on that car again.
That's right.
Okay. How many times? You want to see taxation? Go to your gas pump and look at the little sticker that they have to put up there. How many different taxes are you paying on top of the cost of that fuel?
That's right. It's incredible.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they want to keep raising it.
Oh yeah.
And we keep talking about job situations in California, and all you hear from certain parties, I won't name them, but I think most of you can figure it out, that we want to add more fees, we want more taxes, we've got to collect more money instead of being frugal and cutting where they need to cut, because some of the things we're funding in the state are just ridiculous. I think all of us have seen situations either on road improvements or whatever where you kind of go, there really wasn't anything wrong with what it was, so they created this pork barrel, because you know as well as I do that most road projects are pork barrel, meaning that, for those of you who don't know that, meaning that that representative in that district has written a bill that benefits his district and his people, and that's what's known as pork barreling. And too many of these are just that. They're bridges to nowhere, situations.
And wildlife tunnels.
Don't get me started on wildlife tunnels. I mean, there was another one that I think we talked about before too, but that's an example. There's the example of it. And we are taxed to death. People say, it's, let's go on a fixed tax rate situation, and United States has one of the lower tax rates in the world. Well, that is not true, because they didn't do what you just explained to us. They haven't looked at all the taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes. We're not paying just one tax. Mm-hmm. We're paying 5, 6, 7 taxes, sometimes in one single item, may it be. So, we can go crazy on the tax thing. Yep. But again, I don't understand it. I just don't get it. And that was back to the illegal aliens voting, or whomever may be able to step up and vote without ID. And I'm being told those people that believe that you don't need to, that I'm totally wrong, that you don't know what you're talking about. And I keep saying, prove it to me. I want to understand this. I want to understand why not showing ID is proper. How is this proper? And I'm being called a racist. I'm being called all these things. I'm not a racist. I just don't understand it. So, if somebody out there can tell me, educate me in a way that makes sense, I'd sure appreciate it. But I haven't found somebody yet that can really make sense of it. It just seems to be one of those things. And, we've got areas in this country. We have, Chicago and places like that where people have been dead for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they're still voting.
Well, the biggest argument that I've heard that side uses for it is that would be an unlawful fee or whatever. Because if they didn't have an ID, then they'd have to go buy one. Well, if that's an unlawful tax or fee tax, whatever you want to call it, then what's this fire tax that we just got?
Exactly.
And we're singled out. Not everybody in the state gets this.
Right.
It's just folks that live in the rural areas.
That's right.
That's it. So it's okay for this, but it's not okay for the other thing?
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe it's a situation where if it is what you said, because it's a burden that they can't afford, heck, give them a California issued ID for free.
No, I don't buy that. I'm just saying that's their argument.
But if that's their argument,
yeah.
Get rid of that argument. But I have a real problem when we have all these people voting, and there's no way of knowing if they're really citizens or not.
Absolutely.
It's just so discouraging. It just really is. And the bigger cities have major problems, and people don't want to address it. They don't want to talk about it.
Well, that's why the folks that say, well, it doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, that have been sitting around, just want to get by, leave me alone, I just want to live my life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
Get out and vote. Get out and vote, because we'll outnumber them.
Absolutely.
Get out and vote.
Well, it's so important. I mean, they don't, they've got decisions on who's going to be your sheriff. They got decisions who's going to be a district attorney. They have decisions who's going to be your judges. They have all these decisions. And when they go out there and they say that their vote doesn't count, they forget to look at the local influence that they have. It's huge.
Todd White, 9 votes?
Yeah.
Didn't he win by 9 votes?
Yeah, by 9 votes. It was that close. I remember when on the Placerville City Council, Trent Saxon was running for councilman, and he won by 1 vote. One vote. He went to bed that night thinking he lost, woke up in the morning to a phone call saying, congratulations, you won by 1 vote.
Right.
That is just a shocker.
It matters.
And that shows that, all of you out there, that every vote counts. No matter how bad you feel about it, just go and vote. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Many of us are busy. Some of us don't want to go to the polls. I used to love going to the polls and voting, but I find it more convenient because I'm traveling so much to do it absentee. It's so easy to vote in your home. So easy. Your book's there. Your research should be there. If you're one of these people that vote on these party line situations, let me tell you about these little cards that come in the mail that says, I'm supporting the Conservative Party, and there's all these names on there. Guess what? That's paid for. Every one of those people are paid for, and they may not be an individual like you want. So when you vote party line, or you vote one of these informational cards that come through, it may not be correct. Right. So it's your job to get out there and get educated as to who these people are. So, and we have election coming up pretty soon here, and some of it's pretty contentious. I mean, we've got a situation where we have 2 people running for judge, which is almost unheard of, especially an incumbent who's being challenged, and that's really unusual. And so in our little county, it's important. You better get out there and vote because there's a lot at stake.
Yes,
a lot at stake. So we've done I think it's important. But geez, John, this has been great. We've gotten to cover a lot of really neat things. I'm really happy about this. I get all excited when we talk about this stuff. You can tell because I'm.
That's why I wear a suit.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's and you notice I'm starting to change my appearance now. I want people to take me more serious than just sitting here in a t-shirt. So I'm a shirt and tie guy now. I'm back to the way I was 20 years ago. But really, we really hope that that those of you in El Dorado County that are watching this, and those of you that are in other counties watching this too, take this to heart, because it's the same for you as it is for us in the voting situation, how you elect your judges, your sheriffs, your district attorneys. It's important that you vote. And also, one of the things I want you to do is we're looking for news tipsters. So if you're in an area and you've got some breaking news that you know about or something, give us a call. We have a phone number and an email at the end of this segment that you can get a hold of us, because we want to cover it for you so that you get to know what's going around in this county. And John, I want to thank you again one more time for coming every month and cluing us into what's going on. There's always something to talk about, and I really appreciate it. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's a better sheriff in this state that will come out and get that information out to us, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to our viewers, too, so I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank all the viewers out there for watching us. Keep it going. Keep visiting us, because we are now a part of SAC Connect with the Sacramento Bee, and we want to keep that going. And all I can say is thanks for watching us. This is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV. We'll see you next time. This episode of Old Guy Tech TV is brought to you by Ward's Automotive, specializing in Banks Power and Pack Brake, servicing your car or truck and specializing in diesel engines. Over 30 years of service, located in Diamond Springs, California. Give them a call at 530-626-5588.